50% of custom code within inside an SAP system is rarely or never executed, and 80% of the data is considered cold. So when you're moving to S4, think about this digital dead weight. How do you find it? The old way was painful manual analysis. What if we could use AI to just have a conversation with the old system and simply ask it, what should be migrated? So in today's session, we're going to ask it which of the processes are essential and which are obsolete. Who are your most effective users that we can learn from and involve in the migration? And what data is still vital and what data is really, ready for the archives? So let's have a look. So to do this today, we're going to look at conversational analytics. And what I'm going to do is set up an agent that's going to allow me to ask questions of the transactions within inside the system. Specifically, my first agent is going to look at the ST03N transactions. So now I've built the agent, I can start to ask it questions. My first question is to try and understand what are the old and unusable transactions that exist within the system. Well, looks like VF11 and 2 custom code reports are in our top 5 transactions that really need to be looked at. But are we sure that this information is correct? We can see from the text up here how the AI came up with the answer. And if you really are cynical, you can dive into the code itself. So that's pretty cool, isn't it? And the best bit is we can share it with other people in our organization so they can slice and dice the data the way they need to for their task. The next thing we're going to look at now is end user data. For that, we need the CDHR table and the CDPOS table inside the SAP system. Now, there's a problem here, and we're going to show you how to use the agent in the correct way to fix it. So the problem that I've got is whilst I've got the user ID in my transaction data, I don't have the specific user details. We can provide instructions to an agent that talk about maybe the fields that are in the system, but we can also provide a little bit of lookup data. Now, I wouldn't advise this if I was looking at tens of thousands of users, but in this particular instance, I've got 500 users I need to cross-reference, and this is a really simple, low-tech way of doing it. So now Luca's going to interrogate that data. And what's interesting about this result is it's not just combining the transaction data, but it's also looking at the rework rate. So we can actually find the users that are most effective inside the organization in the tasks that they do, at least from a data perspective, that is. And what's cool, if you remember, I put the email addresses of these users into the prompt. I can now ask the system for their addresses and send them an email, inviting them to be part of our process. Now, the final thing is to look at the legacy data inside the system. And we can look at master data and look at inconsistencies in that master data. But we also want to have a look at that cold data. Now, one useful thing that Google does for SAP is to create this model called Cortex. Cortex allows us to sort of simplify the SAP data in a way that the AI can easily consume it. So we are going to take the data, place it into Cortex, and then we can ask some questions of that data. And the question we're going to ask this one is simply, what items are older than a year that haven't been delivered? So we can now see which materials have been on back order for a long period of time. More importantly, we can see if there's a particular material type that's causing a lot of legacy or cold data inside the system, and we can start to investigate. So there you have it. We've had a conversation with the legacy ECC system. We've asked it which of the processes are essential and which are obsolete. We've got an understanding of who are the most effective users, so we can bring them into the project and learn from them. And finally, we've used Cortex to learn what data is still active and vital, maybe what data is cold and needs to be archived. We've interviewed the legacy system to see how it thinks it should be migrated. I suppose we should ask it where it sees itself in 5 years' time. What do you think?